In the co-main event, a banger co-main event. Albert Duraev plus 145 against Junyoung Park, sitting at minus 145, over under 2.5 rounds. Minus 145 for the over, plus 145 for the under. Both men 4-1 in their last 5. Very similar records. If you take a look there, pretty similar in age, pretty similar in height, pretty similar in reach. Pretty similar fighters overall. One Russian, one South Korean. And they're coming into this one. Duraev off of the absolute snoozer of a fight against Chidi and Jokawani. I watched that one live, and I was very disappointed how that turned out. But the fight against Joaquin Buckley, he had that his eye like swelled up, and he had to go out for the doctor stoppage. But then the Roman Kopylov win doesn't age too bad. I mean, Kopylov looked pretty good in his last time out, and Junyoung Park, kind of your all-around fighter. He's got a good ground game that he's used a lot in his recent fights. And on the feet, I mean, he's nothing crazy on the feet. He's solid with everything as far as the boxing goes. But two or back-to-back rear naked chokes for him, one in the first round, one in the second round. Kind of beat the shit out of Dennis Talulin his last time out. He's been not chalky favorite, but minus 225 in his past 2 fights. And then its only losses in the UFC are Gregory Rodriguez and Anthony Hernandez. So he's had a good run, I would say, and probably the rightful favorite here. But Albert Duraev, if he gets you down and can control you there, he can be a problem. And I don't know if I could see him doing that to Junyoung Park, but it is a possibility. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it is a tough one because stylistically they match up pretty decent. All things considered, like I was on Duraev in his last fight against Njokuani just because of the wrestling factor and, kind of drowning these guys as fights go on. He's pretty relentless with his wrestling attack. He's got a little pop in his shots on the feet. So yeah, man, it makes it tough because Junyoung Park, wherever this fight goes, I just think he might have a slight advantage. Like on the ground, he's obviously good. We saw what he did to Dennis Talulin, and getting guys like Joseph Holm down. And once he got those guys down, there's nothing really they could do. His strength of schedule in his last 2 fights isn't that good. I mean, just talked about Talulin, Joseph Holmes, both those guys, not a good run in the UFC. But the one thing that kind of interests me is that he is losing to Gregory Rodriguez, who has decent striking and some good grappling. And same thing with Anthony Hernandez, kind of a relentless wrestling type style. And but he's beat guys like Marc-Andre Barriault. And that's a pretty damn tough fighter to beat right there. So Duraev, man, if I wanted to see Duraev and Buckley go on a little bit longer, I wanted to see how he could handle a guy with some decent volume as the fight went on, and if it gets into that third round, and see what he's got, kind of when he's had to, wrestle a little bit, take some decent shots, and see what that gas tank looks like. Because Junyoung Park might not seem like a power puncher, but the dude actually does have some decent volume. He lands nearly 5 significant strikes per minute. And I think that could be the X factor here with a guy like Duraev. If Duraev can't get him on the ground, I think this is going to look a lot better to the judges for Junyoung Park. But again, a fight that is kind of sketchy, not one I'm begging to throw my money at. But if I'm going to take a pick, I'm going to stick with Park here.
Yeah, it is a pretty sketchy one. And if I was going to make a bet, I'd probably go dog or pass just because Duraev does have a little bit better of opposition in his past couple of fights, as you alluded to. But Junyoung Park, the back-to-back submissions might be in play there for him as far as the price goes. But it's over Talulin, who has been submitted multiple times, and Joseph Holmes, who I shouldn't even be in the UFC. The win over Eric Anders was a split decision, and Anders was trying to take him down a ton in that one. He was able to stuff 21 of the 24 takedowns, but also able to land over 100 significant strikes. So if Duraev comes out with a game plan like Anders, then Junyoung Park can avoid those takedowns and still land himself. But if Duraev does get you down, I think he's got a lot better top pressure as far as when he gets you there. I mean, he took down Chidi and held him there for a full round in the first round. And that's what kind of slowed down Chidi as far as the striking went in his last fight. So for the sake of the show, I'll just go with Duraev. But yeah, probably dogger pass again.